Hey everyone, welcome to the video. My name is Maestro. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk football. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about Erling Haaland. Reason being is that, as we all know, City are far worse now than they were last season. They just recently, yesterday, actually around 48 hours ago, not yesterday, they lost to Tottenham. It's their fourth loss of the season, and it was actually a huge blow. As we all know, Everton done the job on Arsenal, and it kind of put City in a position where you think, okay, this is the time where they can finally make their march on Arsenal, and they dropped the ball, they lost, and once again people are highlighting Haaland and how it's another big game in which Haaland is completely nullified, just completely taken out of the game, and ultimately just a passenger. And people are wondering, when it comes to why people think City are worse now than they were last season, people are pointing at Haaland. He has kind of come the scapegoat for them. It's kind of easy to make him the scapegoat simply because the biggest change from last season to this season is Haaland. He wasn't here last season and they had Jesus instead, and then of course we all know how good they were last season, and now Jesus is gone and he's here, so of course it's Haaland's fault. No, look, it's not that simple. Now, just to ask you, do I think they're worse now? Look, this is maybe gonna sound a bit controversial, but I'm just gonna give my opinion and I'll explain, and then I'll explain how to move forward from this. Firstly, because this is perfectly normal. Is Haaland way better than Jesus? Yes, of course. Are City worse with Haaland than they would be with Jesus? That's also a yes. I think if you take out Haaland from this team and you put Jesus in the middle, I think ultimately they will become a better team. Let me tell you something. If you look at City and the amount of goals they have scored, and the amount of goals they scored at this point last season to right now, it's essentially the same. Now here's the thing. This season, they have a striker with 25 goals, Haaland. So you'd think, how could they possibly be scoring the same amount of goals as a whole? It's because, well, whilst Haaland is scoring 25 goals, many other issues have risen for City. Because as a whole, they are playing much worse. Now, here's the thing. Here's how I think Haaland loves to play. He loves to play simply direct football. Just a simple cross-in, header, goal. Through ball, he runs up, makes the run, gets the ball, finishes, goal. He counter-attacking football to counter, they're running, he's got that blistering pace, he can go and go. He'll definitely be in the 6-yard box, just deliver, he'll score. He likes to play simple, direct football. That's Haaland. Now, here's how Pep plays. Opposite of simple. Opposite of direct. Pep can play direct, and he does against the Leicester teams. 100% they do play a mixture of direct to build up football against the Leicester teams, but against the teams that know how to play against City, or at least have a plan to play against City and beat them, they revert to build up football. They like to play it slow, pass by pass, just take your time, break down the team, suffocate them, alright? You kind of keep going pass by pass and wait for an opening and then you strike. And if the strike works or doesn't work, they suffocate them once again by closing them down as quick as they can, getting the ball back in 20 to 30 seconds. Now that's how Pep likes to play. Like I just said, it's the opposite from Haaland. He is not built for this build-up play. To play in this build-up world, you need to be an above-average passer, close to an elite, especially at this level, close to an elite passer, especially short passing. Haaland isn't that. You need to have just perfect movement within the midfield. He has a great positioning as a striker, but in terms of coming in to the midfield and positioning yourself to where you can lay off passes to one another and continue the flow of play. He's not good at that. That's not what he does. So those two things he's missing, and ultimately it prevents him from being this midfielder that can participate in the build-up play. So he doesn't participate at all. He stays up there. He is at the striker position from minute 1 to the last minute. And ultimately, when you play against teams like Spurs, like Arsenal, like Chelsea, etc., Newcastle, that are good teams with good squads, and they're not gonna just be afraid of you. They're gonna come at you and try and make you uncomfortable to not play your way, to play their way against you. City then have to, like I said before, they can play direct, but only against the poor teams. When it's a good team, they need to then revert to taking it slow again, and to then figuring out a way to break down this team who is clearly good, and then that ultimately that leaves Haaland out of it. He's then nullified from these games. It's not coincidence if you look at Haaland and the games that he has, the games in which he's played terribly, it's against all of the good teams. Newcastle, he played bad. Spurs at the Etihad was the only good team he played this season in which he actually scored and played really, really well. All the other top teams in the league, the teams that kind of pushed him, and for example Brentford, they're not a great team, but they have a coach that's capable of going toe to toe with Pep. He was uncomfortable and he was nullified. He was nullified against Arsenal in the FA Cup. He was even against Chelsea. Now they beat Chelsea, but he was still nullified. Against Man United, they nullified him because they are teams that are capable of pushing City back, and to the point where they can't play simple direct. They need to play the build-up football to crack them down. And when they do play build-up football, Haaland is then nullified. He's left out of it. So ultimately, these 25 goals that we're seeing on the screen right here, yes, it's ridiculous, but it needs to be understood. The majority of these come against the lesser teams in which they can play direct football. Those goals come from direct plays. Not many of them come from a huge build-up goal. It's simple pass goal, because that's how Haaland thrives. He doesn't score these goals against the bigger teams in which you have to play build-up, because he's left in a point where I feel like he doesn't even know where to go. He doesn't know where to position himself. I saw against the Spurs game, for the first 20 minutes, he tried to come in deep. I saw that. I think he was trying something new. He was told by Pep to do that, maybe to try and come in deep and be a bit more involved when you're playing a team like Spurs. And ultimately, it just didn't work out. He was there, made a few passes, but nothing came of it. And then he spent the rest of the game doing what he did against all the other big teams, staying up there. And they couldn't get it to them. But here's another thing. Here's the thing. Oh, sorry, I'm waffling here. Whilst Haaland is in a way worse for this team than Jesus, I think it's not fair to put it on him though, or all on him. He deserves some blame, but I think the same amount of blame needs to go to the others, because their quality has dropped too. Now look, De Bruyne, he's been great, fantastic, but his level has somewhat dropped from last season. This is a fact. The same goes for Rodri, Gundogan. Those three have dropped a lot. Not a lot, but significantly, to the point where their build-up is far worse. Also, their wingers this season as a whole, terrible. Actually, let me reframe that. Not terrible, but not good enough. Not good enough for what City want. I think Grealish is at times fine, but he's not as involved as he should be in the build-up. Mahrez has been great these past 2 months, but as a whole, the season, not good enough. Foden, not good enough. I think I like when Foden plays in the middle, but he's been injured recently, hasn't played in a while, and he seems to be just off it this season, and that's kind of the theme of the rest of the players. So whilst Haaland, he has his issues, everyone's dropped in quality, and that's not because of Haaland. Let's talk about the left back position. You see, now for me, this is on Pep. At left back, they had Cancelo, in which he would drop into the midfield and play and take up and be a much bigger role in that build-up play. And if it wasn't Cancelo, they had Zinchenko waiting, and he would do the same job too. Zinchenko has gone to Arsenal. They sold Zinchenko to Arsenal. Cancelo, whilst he was here for most of the season, which by the way, he was okay, and you could have worked with him to make him better for the rest of the season, but he's now gone, which means it leaves you with Rico Lewis. That's Pep's fault, or the City board. Rico Lewis is a fine player, and I'm excited to see how he develops, but come on now, he's not at that level. I've seen him try to drop in the midfield, but he can't cooperate as well as Zinchenko and Cancelo did. So then you have you lost even more quality there. So yes, Haaland, I get both sides of it. Haaland deserves some blame, but not all of it. It's not just him. Now here's the ideal situation for Haaland. It's for City to change the way they play, to where it's far more direct, far more explosive, and far more open to counter-attack. Far more open to allowing pressure to come into where they can counter and utilize Haaland. No, even if it's a big team, small team, because Haaland on a counter can destroy anyone. When it comes to build-up play, build-up teams, he will struggle because he's just not particularly good at that. And when it comes to build-up, they need as much plays as possible. Before Jesus took part in that build-up play, he's no longer here, so they are man down when it comes to build-up football. So, like I said before, what they can do is revert to that. But here's the thing, that's stupid. It's stupid to reform to one player, especially since the way you have played has already won you Premier League titles and FA Cup titles and Capital One Cup titles and Champions League finals and semi-finals, and it made you achieve great things, getting 100 points and stuff. So they shouldn't do that. So what I think needs to happen now, look, City are so talented that they could still go on to win the league without Haaland changing his ways. But I think for his future at City, because you imagine he should be here for a while, he needs to learn how to drop deep, participate, move around the pitch well, to the point where you can help out with the build-up. Now, if he does this, his sole statistics will suffer, but the others will go up, and ultimately it will be better for the team. He needs to find a way to work on that level of play. And if he does, you have something far more scary. Okay, because this is one of those cases, it's not all about goals. I'm glad this has come up. He has 25 goals, yes. But he would be better for the team if he had, say, 15 goals, but he cooperated more into the build-up to the point where other players can be in a position to score. That would be far better. So that's my opinion on the whole Haaland City situation. I think both parties have issues but I think ultimately Haaland is the one that needs to reform his play, and I think Pep needs to be the driving force in that. Tell him, work on it. You saw him try to do it against Spurs for the first 25 minutes. He was awful at it. Work on that. And if it doesn't work out, then look, I'm not educated in the world of football enough to understand exactly what should be done. This is just my opinion of just me watching football for all these years, just learning and stuff. That's my opinion. And of course, I'm sure Pep has another solution that's far better than mine, but we will see, and I'm interested to see. Because, yeah, like I said at the start of the video, they are worse with Haaland than Jesus. That can't be denied. And it's crazy to say, because once again, like I said at the start of the video, of course Haaland is better than Jesus. Of course. But football isn't... It's simple, but it's not that simple. You know... Jesus was far more fitting towards City and Pep's way of playing, ultimately benefited the team as a whole. Haaland is different. He's direct, simple. Pep is all about build up and kind of suffocating the opposing team, and that's not what Haaland's about. But Haaland can, I think, find a way to work on that, to get to a point where it's at least feasible to some point, to where when they play against, for example, the next big game is against Arsenal, get to the point where he won't feel nullified. He won't feel left out when they play against teams like Arsenal, Spurs, etc. that aren't afraid of you and will push you to the point where you need to play at your best to win. And at City's best is when they play build-up football, not direct. So just real quick before I end the video, I don't know if I explained this already, I'll just say it again. The reason why Haaland has 25 goals is because when he plays against these lesser teams, they are able to play direct football, and when they do that, he is electric. He's scoring hat-tricks for fun. But when they play against the lesser teams, City have to revert to slow, build up, well thought out football. And when they do that, they are undermanned because Haaland is still there and he can't play build-up football, and ultimately Haaland then suffers because no service comes in, because the build-up is not good enough. So that's why he has 25 goals, but ultimately they are worse. They need Haaland to learn to quick passing, he needs to learn to move into the midfield and move around with the players and cooperate with them to then close down and then lay off to one each other and kind of bounce off one each other. But right now, that's an issue, and it's an issue that they can work on. But listen, I'm a huge Haaland fan, and I can't wait to see how this unfolds. Quick note, I know that City right now are currently going through some Premier League issues. They're getting charged or something, but let's be real, they probably won't be charged for anything. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's my opinion on the whole Haaland City situation. Will they figure out? I assume they will, because it is Pep, and plus, it's Haaland too, it's De Bruyne. There's far too many players there, far too good to not work this out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate for you taking your time out to watch this video. Please drop a like, it really helps out, and subscribe. We can always keep up to date with my future videos. This video was far longer than it should have been, but I'll just end it right here. I'm sorry about that. Sorry if I muffled and waffled a lot. Anyway, have a great day, and thank you for watching.